I don't think I've ever been to one, actually.
Oh, my God, they're great.
Yeah, I was too young when Tyson was in Vegas and you were front row at all those fights.
I wasn't front row, but I was right behind for about 6 Tyson fights, couple Sugar Rays, couple Hearns, couple Haglers, couple Duran.
Yeah,
it was great. First job out of college. How lucky was I?
I was lucky. I was in 5th grade winning like a spelling bee maybe or something like
Really?
that. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
I was a good speller. Still
were?
am, yeah.
Okay. Jason McIntyre is the founder of The Big Lead. Every Friday, we do something called Tomorrow's Headlines Today. Let's start with Antonio Brown trade market. Tomorrow's headlines today.
So I think the headline tomorrow is going to be, and Colin, this one's a fun one. AB disappears into black hole. There's really only one place for him to go at this point, right? We were just talking before the show about what happened last night, and Antonio Brown can just say, I'm not going to sign in Buffalo. I don't want to sign in Cincinnati. You're not sending me to, outer Mongolia. I will only go here. And the Steelers are kind of stuck with him. So I think a situation is setting up where John Gruden is, he loves to roll the dice, talking about Kyler Murray in the draft. Why not roll the dice with Antonio Brown? I mean, it makes sense. The receivers are bad. But I do want to, Colin, tell you a quick story about Antonio Brown. This is the kind of diva, as you see here on FS1, arguing on the sideline, chucking a Gatorade. So he came out here in L.A. within the last 7 months and was on the set of a TV show.
Yeah.
So Antonio Brown, they're filming this TV show, goes up to them and says, hey, I need to use the restroom. Like, okay, we'll show you to the private bathroom, Mr. Brown. He goes, no, I've got to go home. I don't use a public restroom. And Antonio Brown holds up this TV show, goes home. Of course, they follow him to the house. Antonio Brown shuts the door. 45 minutes later, he emerges, goes back to the TV set. Okay, I'm ready to go. That's the kind of diva that some of these teams are going to be looking at. He's just a weird guy. He's just a strange individual. And the fact that he would do that, and these teams, my Jets, Tampa Bay, they're all going to call around, and they're going to hear these Antonio Brown stories coming out of the Pittsburgh locker room. I think there's only one chance, and that's the Oakland Raiders.
And they have 3 first-round picks.
There you go.
All right, Le'Veon Bell free agency. Tomorrow's headlines today.
Oh, I'm surprised you haven't been all over this one. You love this team.
Le'Veon Bell seems... I don't understand why nobody's talking about him.
If you notice, he's stopped prattling on social media. He's dialed it back. Le'Veon Bell, tomorrow's headline. Today, believe in the Colts. Now, you're a Colts guy. You're in with the Colts front office.
Love them.
I'm ready to go on record that they will be the favorites in the AFC to get to the Super Bowl if they get Le'Veon Bell. Think about this. And Andrew Luck has had some pretty good players that he's had at the skill positions.
Never a great player.
This is the best skill position player Andrew Luck would have. Think back to that playoff loss to the Chiefs, Colin. Did you see that offense, how bad it was? They couldn't move the football. Teams just load up on the tight ends and T.Y. Hilton.
You know what's interesting?
Le'Veon Bell?
I don't know if Chris Ballard, the GM, would bring him into their culture, which is very much we over me. But I will say this. They have over $100 million in cap space. They're going to be able to solve most of their problems because of their draft picks.
There you go.
I don't know. It's funny. I started looking at all their money. They're going to re-sign some of their own guys. I know they would have made a run at D Ford, but he got franchised.
Right.
I'm fascinated to watch where they spend their money because they need a number 2 receiver. Well, they drafted one and he got hurt last year. Yeah. You can get that in the draft. They need another corner. They need an edge rusher.
Edge rusher, big.
And there's
Justin
a ton
Houston
of them
on the market.
It's going to be funny to see what the Colts do with their money. My gut feeling with Chris Ballard is he may go spend a little money on a corner. They have a couple of decent corners, but I think if you're in the division, if you're in the AFC against Patrick Mahomes, you got to be better than good at corner. You got to get pass rushers and corners.
And just to hammer home the Bell point, when you think back to their regular season, it's one thing for the running back to go off against the Tennessee Titans or these mediocre teams. You get to the playoffs, you need a bell cow like Le'Veon Bell to just take over. Just remember, he is one of the most electric backs in the league, totally fresh, having not played last year. I love it in Indianapolis.
Earl Thomas free agency. Tomorrow's headlines today.
A lot of people initially just pegged him to Dallas because of all the chatter, but I believe another team that you know well is going to be in the Earl Thomas mix. I believe the headline will be the Bay of Boom, okay? Richard Sherman and Earl Thomas back together again. If you're looking for a buy low team right now for next year, San Francisco 49ers. Jimmy G coming off the injury. They got about $65 million in cap space. Remember, Jerick McKinnon, the running back, he's coming back from injury. This team has a good front seven, the number two pick in the draft.
So they're probably going to get that Kentucky kid, Allen, Josh Allen.
Or Bosa.
The edge rusher.
Yeah.
So they're going to get a great edge rusher, solve that. What they have to, it's interesting because really their number one concern to me, because their right tackle last year from Notre Dame was a home run, they need big time secondary help.
Yes, badly. And Earl Thomas's knowledge of that division, okay? And the payback factor. Colin, the last image of Earl Thomas in Seattle was on that cart. Remember coming off, flicking the middle finger to the here's a video, to the sideline. He was angry at what happened, that they played him and he got injured. I think there's a revenge factor that Richard Sherman had as well. Sherman and Earl Thomas, 49ers. Oh, that's a tough video to watch. And I know you're big on the Rams and friendly with them. I think they could be pulling back a little next year. Keep an eye on that offensive line. The early chatter is they're going to lose 2 offensive linemen.
John Sullivan's already gone.
Yeah, one's gone. I would not be surprised if the 49ers won that division next year.
Neither would I. LeBron passes Jordan. Will play restricted minutes rest of the season. Tomorrow's headline today.
Well, boy, this one, I know it's going to upset you, Nick Wright, Doug Gottlieb, a lot of folks. Colin, tomorrow's headline will be GOAT Talk Timeout. It's official. We cannot discuss Jordan and LeBron anymore. We have to take a 1-year timeout. I'm calling for a hiatus. And here's why, Colin. I don't want to anger LeBron. I know he watches your show. You're in with Maverick Carter.
Yeah.
They're going to finish 10th in the West.
It's bad.
The first year he leaves the East. Remember, a decrepit East that he ran roughshod over for 8 years. Okay? At what point do we say, well, boy, maybe that East was bad?
Well, it was.
I mean, it was awful.
I
mean, Joy, like, when you think about this.
As soon as LeBron
Colin,
misses the playoffs, this is going to be the conversation.
They can't pass the Sacramento Kings. They can't pass the Clippers. The Clippers are starting 2 rookies and the Lakers' third-string center.
And they traded Tobias Harris. You got to give the Clippers credit. They're going to make
Doc Rivers needs a major shout-out.
the playoffs.
And one more point. When you look at this Lakers roster, it is better than what LeBron had last year in Cleveland. Remember, it was Kevin Love, LeBron,
no, that's true.
J.R. Smith.
There's more talent on this roster than the Cleveland roster.
He's 10th in the West? Colin, so that's why I refuse to entertain any Jordan LeBron stuff. Are you with me on this? Will you stop Jordan LeBron talk for 1 year?
Oh, I'd stop it forever.
Oh, here we go.
I'm tired of talking about that.
Now you're going to have to pass it on to Gottlieb, Nick Wright, whoever else at this net. We got to stop it. Broussard is on board with me. I know he is.
Okay. Kyrie Irving, tomorrow's headlines today.
I am a huge Kyrie Irving fan. I own a Kyrie throwback jersey that, I'll wear to the beach sometimes. Yeah. I got to say, tomorrow's headline will be, and this is not a good one, unlucky charm. So we've already established that the Celtics, it says they're on the screen, 10-2 without Kyrie this year. I've got a mind-blowing stat I haven't heard anywhere else. Kyrie turns 27 this month.
Yeah.
He's already had 5 head coaches. If he leaves the Celtics, he's going to have 6 NBA head coaches by the time he's 27. At what point do we look at a guy who left LeBron and now maybe he leaves Brad Stevens?
No, it's a very legitimate.
And it's like, who are we dealing with here? Who leaves LeBron? And then it's like, okay, who leaves Brad Stevens? If he moves on, Colin.
Listen, I've been critical of Russell Westbrook. I think I told Joy this the other day. You do get to a point that Westbrook this year has relinquished the baton.
Yeah.
Now, he's not in his prime. He's had surgeries. But, you get into a thing with Kyrie, you start taking out the LeBron years, and it's all enigma. I mean, there's a lot of questions about him.
As I pitched this to the producer of this segment, he goes, Kyrie's never won a playoff game without LeBron. He was hurt last year, didn't get to the playoffs before LeBron got there. There's some pressure on Kyrie to deliver here. And again, I'm a big Kyrie fan, but this whole jumping around, about to be on his 6th coach if he leaves Boston, he's almost like one of those guys who just dates around and can never commit to any girl. You know one of those guys, I'm sure.
Yes, those are not good people.
It's like, what's wrong with you, dude? Just settle down. Move on. And Kyrie Irving, if he leaves Brad Stevens, Colin, I will be shocked. If he heads to the Knicks,
the good
Brooklyn.
The good thing Boston has going for him, Gordon Hayward's playing better. They got over their little tizzy, and they match up great with Philadelphia.
They do, yeah.
You used to live by Philadelphia.
Outside, yeah.
Philadelphia is a weird team where if you look at it, and I said Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons, Jimmy Butler, Tobias Harris, veteran coach, you'd be like home run, JJ Redick. They're terrible late in games. They struggle against good teams. They're not real mature. Embiid's been beat up recently.
That's a bad matchup for the Sixers. I mean, Horford owned Embiid last year in the playoffs. It was bad.
Good stuff. Great to have you on the show today.
Yeah, thank you.
By the way, if you haven't tried the delicious high-quality meat from Butcher Box, going to be blown away. Go to butcherbox.com/HERD, free ground beef. For the life of your subscribers.